Hey everybody, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. And this is the first episode of the new point .9 beta, and I'm playing in career. And as you can see, this is just a little simple Tier 1 rocket I built. It's a little liquid fueled thing, and I put little girders along the bottom. And I did this so that when it comes back down, the engine doesn't explode when it hits, because I kind of like to recoup that little bit of cost, because you really got to pinch your pennies in career mode. I've done it once before, or in the earlier versions of the game, and I ran out of money, and that was with a stage recovery mod. And I'm gonna try it again with the new career system. And yeah, here we go. Watch, see, boom, no explosion, or landing, no explosion. And here's the second one. Yeah, this is really fun, because I put little parachutes on the side of the solid rocket boosters, because I tried another lower stage recovery mod, but it didn't work out. For some reason, I just couldn't get it to work. So I tried a couple more launches with it, and it just would not recognize that they weren't falling into the ground. See, like that. So, again, this is just a little simple Tier 1 two-stage rocket where I go up, take some readings, and then come right back down again. Coming right back down. And I put little landing legs on this, so again, when I hit the ground, I don't explode, because I will then be able to recover as much of the rocket as possible. So it does. So yeah, here we go. And we're coming down between the astronaut complex and the what is it? Oh, what's that building called? The something where you do the things. Yeah. And this is a three-stage rocket. This was this kind of setup is kind of the way I'm going with the rockets in this playthrough. And again, I've tried with the parachutes to try and use the stage recoveries, but I just couldn't figure it out. So I eventually just decided to forget about it. And again, you can look and you can see what I'm doing here is I'm doing the altitude contracts, and what those, and just simple up and down hops, nothing special. Back down, punching through the clouds, coming down a little bit farther away because it went a little bit higher up. And this was a pretty good rocket design for Tier 2 rocket technology. Yep, see the same one all over again, only this time I'm going a little higher. And again, the stage recovery just wasn't working. I could not figure out why. Oh well, it isn't really important, because eventually I just dump it, and it doesn't really matter much anyway, because I'm making money with completing the contracts. And here we go, more mystery goo. It's a mystery, and it's gooey. Gooey. Yeah. Yeah, the early first missions are really kind of boring. It's just go up, take some readings, come back down. Go up, take some readings, come back down. nothing really amazing happens in like your first couple of launches unless you're uh, some unless you like min-max the rockets and do some crazy uh, like there is a way to fire off solid rocket boosters and have them explode in sequence, but this one I got the larger booster, which lets me go far higher and farther. And this is a 4-stage rocket, I think. Yeah, 4 stages. There's one. This is 2. Then there's 3. And then there's the final stage, which actually has a, if you'll see, a materials bay on it. Those are so big and bulky, it's hard to use them. They're really difficult to fit on spacecraft because they're big, bulky, and heavy. But they return so much science. It allows you to get so much better parts. So they're really good for their weight. So yeah, that's one of the things that I'm really having to worry about in the new campaign is the weight to science return. It's really just trying to figure out how as much science as I can get out of certain designs. Okay, this is a pretty good orbital, early orbit craft right here. I really wish there was a stock 2-man capsule, but there isn't one. It's like 1 and then 3. There's no like interim Mercury equivalent, which is really disappointing. Here we go, in orbit. Woohoo! Yeah. And yeah, here we go. Going all the way around. Yeah, and apparently in point 9, the night side lights didn't transfer over, and I think I'm gonna have to check the forum, the Kerbal forums, and see if that mod gets updated. But until then, the night is dark, but that's not really all that important. Here we come down. Yeah, I was trying to get my I had to update the flight engineer because of the .9, again, the .9 beta. I had to try and get things set up properly. There we go. That's about what I was looking for. We're coming back down, just burning the last of the fuel, trying to get myself to slow down. Coming over the desert. I don't actually land in the desert. At least I don't think so. No. This one I land in the desert. It's the next one that doesn't land in the desert, I think. I can't remember. Well, we'll see it again anyway. Coming down in the middle of the sandy desert. If I hadn't burned, I would have landed in the ocean, and that I wasn't sure if I was gonna survive that. So I didn't know how fast I was gonna come down, which is only about 5, a little over 5.5, which is good enough. Oh yes, this thing. I tried to play around a little bit because I just unlocked wings, but I didn't have any engines. So I decided I'd make a flying machine, a winged flying machine. So yeah, a rocket plane. It's fun. It's a fun little design. It's serviceable. It does what I need it to do. You can't spam crew reports, which is a little disappointing, but I understand why. I tried to see if I could get a crew report for out over the ocean, but it didn't work because I ran out of fuel. And this thing it glided okay, not great, but okay. And I just couldn't get out far enough. Whatever. It worked. It works. It's good for an early aircraft. Oh, there we go, over the water. Finally got out far enough. And I'm out of fuel. I gotta glide back to shore. Now I don't have any wheeled landing gear, and those landing legs only work in the vertical position, and I am completely out of fuel. Which means I'm either going to crash or crash. Hopefully I don't crash, but you never know, especially with these early experimental things. Yeah, it was slowing down because I was gliding, but I needed to keep myself going quick enough that I wouldn't stall out. I mean, it didn't weigh too much, but it was weight enough. Yeah. I mean, at least it was stable. It was a stable flying machine. This is actually a very stable design. And then once I get over the land, I deploy the side parachute, or the side parachutes. And it's trying to glide, and I let it get a little too close to the ground, because I start to get a little overconfident. Like, well, hey, you know what, maybe I can actually get this thing to land. No. This was a bad idea. Trying to land this thing was a bad idea. You can tell because it's about to explode. But he survives to fly another day. And any landing you can walk away from wasn't fast enough. Those of you who get that reference, laugh, because it's funny. Anyway, here's another rocket. I put little fins on it, made it a little more stable. And this one, it goes a little farther, but it wobbles like crazy. Yeah, this has actually got like some thrust vectoring, and yeah, I'm doing a part test contract with the gear, which I should have done with the previous one, but I didn't think about that. And that's kind of the going rate for things in this series is, well, hey, I should have done that, but I didn't think about that. Coupled with a lot of, that was a bad idea. Yeah, so there's lots of, well, that was a bad idea, and I should have thought of that, and why didn't I do that before? And that would have been good on the previous flight. There's a lot of that. And here we are in the dark. Complete darkness. Yeah, this was, yeah, I went almost up to 500. Well, 300 anyway. Tried to see if I could get a high level. Yeah, space high above. And I ran the test in orbit. Had to get myself to the right altitude. Do an EVA. I had unlocked EVAs, which was really good. And here we go. I can finally test the thing. And now we can go back down. Lower it back down. Out of fuel, use just enough fuel to get myself out of orbit. Yeah, it's kind of I tried to use the actives, and I ended up just using all of the fuel. Not all of the fuel, all of the electrical charge. I just used all the electrical charge up, trying to keep myself stable, and again, bad idea. But at least I kept myself stable, and I did not crunch into the water. Because sometimes hitting the water is worse than hitting the land. But it worked. Oh yeah, here we go. My first attempt at an unmanned probe. It kinda worked. There's no stabilization at all whatsoever, and it controls horribly compared to the early capsules. This thing is just, it is a bear to try and keep stable. I mean, I get it in orbit, but it sort of works. As you can see, I'm fighting to try and keep it pointed in the right direction, and it only gets worse. The higher I go, the more difficult it is to control, because it starts to get more, yeah, see, it's just wobbles around here, wobble, wobble, wobble. And I finally, yeah, and I don't have maneuver nodes yet. So that means it's actually quite difficult to control. And it just spins. And for some, it has basically no torque whatsoever. So it just goes flying, trying to keep it in the right direction is just ridiculous. And here it goes, spins, spin, 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 all around. At least I got the little bit of, at least I can put a little bit, yeah, it is for some reason just completely unstable, and I don't know why. I have no idea why this thing is so unstable. And once it gets spinning, and I'm trying to just flash it in certain areas, trying to get it to go as high as I can get it, but it ends up just, I'm having to use the time acceleration exploit, which I don't usually like to do, but sometimes there's no other way, there's nothing else that you can do. Yeah. Take it up to about 3,000, high orbit, open bay, and transmit away. Yep. Here I tried to, I had a contract to put something in polar orbit, but it didn't work out. It just did not work out. I just couldn't seem to get it to point in the right direction. Because I thought that maybe my problem is that I put too much acceleration into it, and I put a little reaction control wheel on it, which I thought would help. This was just kind of a little test to see if I could control it. It didn't work out so well. As you can see, it was a little easier to control, but not by much. It was just ridiculously difficult to control. Unmanned probes are now just impossible. I probably have to put some more points into research before I can control them properly. I don't know. I just don't know. I at least can, at least I could get the science data around Kerbal, which is what I end up doing. I mean, I tried to put it on a polar orbit, but thinking that, hey, maybe I can do that. No. This is just a ridiculously badly designed probe. As you see, it just does not want to stay stable. And I can't turn on the stability assist because it's not advanced enough yet. And if I had been smart, I could have put parachutes on this thing, but I didn't. It was just expendable. An expendable piece of junk. And it crashes into the mountains. Because it is a useless piece of junk. I don't know. I may revisit this design sometime later, make something better. But right now, no. It's not worth the amount of money that it takes to launch it.